Hello there, welcome to the best course on web development. In the previous episode, we make mention that attributes determine how a particular element behave. Take for instance, using the src attribute with a valid image file path, we were able to bring our image to life. But there are some attributes such as class or ID that does not modify how an element will behave, but instead provide information on how to locate that element so that other languages such as CSS, JavaScript, PHP, and so on can take advantage of that information and determine how the element will behave. Today I'm going to be introducing you to how CSS can take advantage of the class or ID attribute and determine how the element will behave through the style tag. CSS functionality can be included to your web page by using the style tag. CSS stands for Cascading Style Sheet. It is a language that is used for design purpose. To use CSS, you have to declare the style tag in the head element. To do that, go into the head element and simply type in your style. In between the style is where you write your CSS code. If you take a good look at what is on the screen, you will discover that we have two elements, which is the paragraph element and the image element. We need a way to send CSS some information on what particular element to be styled. In order for we to do that, we use the class or ID attribute. The class or ID attribute should be declared in the opening tag of that particular element and not the closing tag. So we'll just input a class and we'll give it any name of our choice. For this particular episode, we are using para. Now that we have given this particular element a name, we can easily go back to CSS and use a dot para, which is the name, open up two braces, type in your code, which is called color, give it red. So I'm going to be explaining what is going on here. Para is the name of the class that we are getting access to. Para is known as the selector. Color red is known as the declarator. Color is the declarator value, column. Color red is known as the declarator value. Ctrl S this and go to your browser to view it. If you run this, you will discover that this is a paragraph is now in a red color. There are other things we can do to CSS. Remember, it's used for styling purpose. We can increase the font size of that particular element. We'll just give it a font size of 22 pixels. Ctrl S that, go back to your browser and run it. You discover that this paragraph tag is looking bigger in size. Also, we can add more CSS code to it, such as, let's use the font weight. We can choose a font weight value of bold, bolder, lighter, and so on. For this episode, let's use bolder. Ctrl S that, run that in your browser, and you discover that this paragraph tag look like an heading 1 element. Now that we have seen how to use the class, let's look at how to use the ID attribute. If you are using the ID attribute, then you will not be using .para. Instead, you'll be using #para. So if you are using the class attribute, you are using .para. But if you are using the ID attribute, you are using hashtag, the name of that particular attribute. Ctrl S that and run that in your code. You will see there is no difference. So to fulfill all righteousness, let's remove this and put dot. Remember, when you are using dot is for class, but now we are using it with the ID attribute. Ctrl S that, go that in your browser and run. You discover that nothing works. So in order for something to work, you have to change it to hashtag for ID attribute, while dot is for class attribute. Control S that and run that in your browser. You see this is paragraph. So we shall pause this episode here. From the next episode, we shall use CSS to start creating amazing, nice, clean, professional looking websites. See you in the next episode. Goodbye.